The Fox Factory Race Series 2.5 coil-over reservoir shocks are some of the best performing options on the market. Not only will they give your 2014 and newer four-wheel drive F-150 a pretty large lift with anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of additional height in the front end, but they also pack in plenty of cool performance tech. So they'll give you the height you're after in a very well-engineered coilover and won't leave you wanting for anything when it comes to ride and handling. Starting out with the first thing you want to know, these are adjustable in height and will give you 4 to 6 inches of lift on the front end of your truck. With these set at their max height, that does mean you can fit up to 35-inch tires without the need for other modifications. However, since this is only lifting the front end of your truck, I would also highly recommend pairing these with a corresponding rear lift to even out the truck's stance and give you all the ground clearance you could ever want. Now, if you've spent any time looking at suspension upgrades for your truck, you've probably realized that Fox makes some of the best stuff out there. The Factory Race 2.5s take all of the good stuff from the factory race line and just kick things up a notch. The most notable feature here are, of course, these remote reservoirs. Previously only the fare of off-road trucks or Baja racers, these allow for extra fluid and gas capacity versus your standard shocks, and that allows them to respond better. The addition of the reservoir also keeps the shock oil and gas separate, so you won't run into issues with bubbling or cavitation in the fluid, which can negatively impact performance, and that's even when you're working them hard. All of this combines with Fox's internal bypass technology. This incorporates piston and velocity sensitive damping that is specifically tuned for each vehicle application, so it ensures that they ride and perform the best they can. Some more cool things that are baked into these shocks: they offer over 5 full inches of travel and feature integrated compression and rebound control in both top and bottom out conditions. What does that mean? Well, it means they won't bottom out and get crashy when you're really working them hard, and they're going to respond exactly the way you expect them to, even when you are working them hard. And these are monotube shocks as well, so by default they are going to be a little bit more stiff than your factory shocks, but the ride quality here is still top notch. And they are adjustable for compression as well, so you can tune them on the fly if you're driving to a trail and find yourself needing some extra performance. These give you about the best combination of ride and handling that you can get, and they come fully assembled and adjusted right out of the box as you see them here on the table, so they are ready to mount up the moment you get them. As we've come to expect from Fox, material and build quality here is top notch. The 2.5 in the name alludes to the 2.5-inch bore of these zinc-plated seamless steel shock bodies, which are double clear coated for additional protection. Inside, you're going to find 6061 T6 hard anodized high flow aluminum pistons with redundant seals attached to 7/8-inch hard chrome plated steel shafts. The external reservoir also has its own internal floating piston, and there are also redundant seals in here, including wiper and scraper seals to keep everything separated. At the ends, you'll find yet more 6061 T6 build aluminum, this time anodized black, for both the mounting points down here and your top mounts as well. The bearings are PTFE lined, heat-treated spherical alloy steel, and the springs are cold wound steel with a silver powder coat over top for some additional protection. So needless to say, these are very well made, though it does come at a cost. Pricing comes in at about $2,300 for this kit, which makes it decidedly one of the most premium options on the market, especially considering this is just for the front end. But again, you're getting that excellent build and material quality in addition to all of the research and development that's been baked in here by Fox. Plus, there's the height adjustability, the adjustability for damping, and the remote reservoir. So yes, you are going to be paying a lot of money for these, but you're also getting a lot for your money. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 3 hours to complete. Thankfully, since you don't have to mess with the spring compressor, these are straightforward to mount up. However, you will need to do a little bit of disassembly to get them installed, and you'll want to ensure you get a professional alignment done once you've got everything buttoned up and back on the ground. We are also going to walk you through the entire process right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
For this install, you will need various impacts, a ratchet, an extension, a 3/8 inch adapter if necessary, a swivel adapter, 8, 10, 18, shallow 19, deep and shallow 21mm sockets, a caliper hanger tool, a bungee cord, 21mm wrench, 17 and 18mm ratcheting wrenches, a hammer, a pry bar, and also not shown here is a jack and jack stand. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing some new struts on our F-150, so let's get started. Alrighty guys, so we've got our truck in the air, we've got the wheels off. Now this control arm that we're going to be installing is meant for a 6-inch lift, which is what we have on our truck. So we're going to pop our brake line brackets off first. That's going to give our brake line some slack and not keep them tense. We've got our 10mm socket on our impact. We'll pop the 10mm bolts off for each bracket. Get that one loose. this one up here as well. This one has a locator. Sometimes it's a little tough to get it out. There we go. And we're also going to remove our ABS line bracket from our knuckle. That is going to be an 8mm, so we'll grab our 8mm socket. So for our next step, we're going to remove our outer tie rod from our knuckle. We've got our 21mm socket. We're going to bring this nut down almost to where it's off. You want to leave a couple threads on, and we need to unseat the tie rod, and then we can remove the nut fully. Now, as you can see, we got pretty lucky with ours. It came unseated by itself. However, a lot of times these do get a little stuck. So in that case, what you want to do is grab a hammer or a ball joint tool, and you can smack this with a hammer a little bit and it should loosen it up, or take your ball joint tool and press it out. We'll get our nut off, get our tie rod out. We'll just stick that nut right back on there so we can keep track of that. So our next step is going to be to unbolt our sway bar end link from our knuckle. That's going to allow us to drop down a little bit once we remove the strut nuts. So we've got our 18mm socket. We'll remove this nut. Sometimes these don't want to go. Our next step is going to be to remove our two lower strut mounting nuts on our knuckle. So we've got our 18mm socket. Pop these off. Next, we can remove our sway bar end link. So now a lot of times it's easier to come from the top at your sway bar itself instead of the knuckle. So we've got our 18mm socket. We'll pop that off. Next, we can loosen up our upper ball joint nut for our upper control arm. So we've got our 18mm socket and swivel adapter with an extension on our impact. We're going to leave that on a few threads again because it'll help catch the knuckle once we unseat our upper ball joint. All right, so before we separate our ball joint and get it out of our knuckle, we're going to put a bungee cord around our knuckle that's going to help support this as it drops down once we remove our upper control arm from it. We'll get this wrapped around. You want to make sure you're not pinching any of your lines when doing this. Just find a nice solid spot that's out of the way. Just wrap this around a few times. Put that in there. Now we're going to use our hammer and tap on our knuckle to unseat this ball joint. Now that we have this unseated, we'll fully remove our nut and get our upper control arm out of our knuckle. Now we're going to remove our upper strut mounting nuts, and that's going to allow us to remove our strut and access our upper control arm bolts. So we've got our 18mm ratcheting wrench, and we'll get these off. We do have one in the back here. Pop this line out if you need to, or you can just pull it up. Now we're going to grab our pry bar and we're going to pry down on our lower control arm underneath our strut to get it down low enough to get the bottom mounting studs out of the lower control arm. Now one thing you may run into, even on a lift of this size, it all depends on what brake lines and stuff you have on your vehicle. You may not have enough swing to get the strut out. So what we're going to do is take our caliper off and hang it off to the side, take our rotor off as well. That'll give us enough room and not overstretch our brake line. So we've got our 21mm socket on our impact. We'll remove the mounting bolts for the caliper, hang that up, and then we'll get the rotor off, and then that should give us enough room. Get our caliper off. Hang this up, off to the side. Now we'll remove our rotor. Sometimes these are a little stuck on here. Now we'll come back to our strut and control arm. Pry this down. And then we'll get our strut out. Alright guys, now that we have our factory strut out, it's time to install our new one. Now these are labeled for left and right. Left would be your drivers, right would be your passengers. So we're going to get our upper mounting points into our perch, line up our bottom section, and then we'll get our bracket and our nuts on the top. That will kind of sit there like so, and we can get everything situated up top. And what we're going to do is install our rear washer and lock nut onto our back stud. That's going to bring our strut up a little bit. We can snug it down. We're not going to fully tighten it just yet. We just want the studs to come up through enough so we can get our bracket onto our front two studs. We'll get this in position. Get our washer on first. Very careful not to drop this. Get our lock nut in place. Lift up on this a hair. And again, we're going to tighten this a little bit just to help bring our strut up. Now we'll grab our 17mm ratcheting wrench, and again, we're just going to snug this nut down a little bit. Just going to bring these studs through quite a bit. And we're going to get our bracket in place. We're going to line this front stud up with the smaller hole, and then the forward stud is going to go onto the larger hole. It'll be a bit of a tight fit at first. Get our back nut and washer in place. Then we'll get our other washer and nut in as well. And we'll get this one on. Now our next step is going to be to get our bottom mounting bolts in through our lower control arm and thread it into our lower mount for our new strut. So we've got our bolt and washer. Send that through. Get this first one started. Now this is why you want to keep your upper mounting nuts loose for the time being, because you want to be able to move this around, get it lined up. We got this one started. We'll get this back one in as well. Now that we've got these in, we're going to tighten them down with our 19mm socket on our impact. So now we're going to come back up top and fully tighten down our upper strut mounting nuts. So again, with our 17mm ratchet wrench, we'll get these tightened down. Now we're going to reinstall our sway bar end link nut. We'll tighten that back down with our 18mm socket. Now we're going to get our control arm back into our knuckles. So we've got our bungee cord off. We got this swung back over. Bring this down. Get our nut back in place. press that, get our nut on as far as we can. Now we're going to tighten this back down, again using our 18mm socket and swivel adapter with an extension. Now we can get our reservoir mounted onto our bracket. So what we're going to do is set this in place. You're going to grab 2 of your provided worm gear clamps. The outer one, you don't need to separate it fully. Just slide it over, get it into position on the bracket. And those cutouts on the back of the bracket are where your clamp should sit. Now we're going to tighten this one down with our 8mm socket. Once we've got that one in, we're going to separate this one. Make sure that's open. We can slide this around. Make sure that seats into that cutout as well. Get this lined up. We'll start to tighten it down. Now we can reinstall our outer tie rod, so we'll get this back in position. Move your knuckle around a little bit. Nut back on. And we'll tighten that back down with our 21mm socket. All right, so now we're going to reinstall our brake caliper. So we've got our 21mm bolts. We'll get our caliper back on and get these back in and get them tightened down. Line back up. Top one back in. Now we're going to tighten these back down with our 21mm socket on a ratchet. Next, we can reinstall all of our brackets to our knuckle and up top. So we've got our 8mm socket, and we'll get our ABS wire back in. Next, we'll get our brake line back in. You want to make sure that locator is lined up with our 10mm socket. And we can also get our top brake line bracket back in. Now this one you might have to persuade a little bit. Alright guys, so once you have this side installed, you can repeat the same process on the other side, and you also want to make sure to torque all of your hardware down to the manufacturer recommended specifications. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our Fox Factory Race Series 2.5 front coilover reservoir shocks for a 4 to 6 inch lift for your 14 to current 4-wheel drive F-150, excluding the Raptor. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.